Nigeria's political and religious debate over the 2027 elections has taken another dramatic turn after former aviation minister and Nigeria's ambassador to South Africa, Femi Fani-Kayode, strongly rejected a controversial claim attributed to Islamic scholar Sheikh Jingir. Jingir reportedly told a gathering of Muslims that Nigerians who refuse to accept a Muslim presidential ticket should leave the country, while also describing Nigeria as belonging to Muslims.
Ni musulmi mai wazin musulunci da nace muslim ne na taba nasu na hana kirishin ya faɗa ne na hana magiro ya faɗa ne na hana dan tantar wata ya faɗa ne amma ni a matsayina musulmi muslim sha'a man sha'a au aba amma wani zai ce ai to demokradiya ne ai akwai suwa ne ba sa sallah ba kai ne wakilinsu to mu muna sallah muna azumi kuma demokradiyyar kun ce majority carry the vote. Jama'a gauro da gauruwa kizuru da kizuruwa Allah ya ba ku abokan zaman tare na aure za su iya haɗa wannan taron nan din nan ina kiran ku dan Allah kowa je gara ƙuri'a mu nuna wa duniya ƙarya kafirai suke da suka ce sun fi mu yawa a Najeriya ƙarya suke yi ba dan Allah ya taimake mu na ce muslim ba mai rabon jini sai ya ce sun fi mu yawa da aka buga Allah ya taimake mu ka kwantara su da ƙasa su zo na biyu ma ba su zo ba ko su zo sai na uku bayan murɗiya su fita da haka ƙuri'a ta musulunci ce jama'ar musulmi ta kufa to kar wani ya ruɗe ku masu miyakun tarihi da haka sittan suka zo suka jefa mana bom a masallacin sarki a Kano wai su yan tatsini wai su kiristoci yan basaji to da Allah.
The remarks contained in a viral video have triggered criticism online and reopened a sensitive national debate over religion, political representation, and the future of Nigeria's democracy. Fani-Kayode, popularly known as FFK, has now entered the controversy, describing the cleric's remarks as unhelpful, untrue, and provocative. But beyond the personalities involved, the controversy raises a much bigger question. Can Nigeria's religious and political division become even more intense as the country moves closer to the 2027 presidential election? According to the reports, Sheikh Jingir made the remarks while addressing Muslims at an event. In the video, he reportedly argued that those who do not accept a Muslim ticket should leave Nigeria because, in his words, the country belongs to Muslims. The statement immediately generated backlash, particularly among Nigerians who viewed it as an exclusionary claim. The controversy is particularly sensitive because Nigeria is almost evenly divided between its two largest religious communities, Christians and Muslims, while also being home to followers of traditional religion and other faiths. Religion has therefore remained a major factor in Nigeria's political conversation, especially during presidential elections. The issue became particularly prominent during the 2023 election when Bola Tinubu, a Muslim, selected Kashim Shettima, also a Muslim, as his running mate. The Muslim ticket generated intense debates. Supporters argue that religion should not determine political competence or leadership, while critics raise concern about balance, inclusion, and the symbolic importance of having both major religious communities represented at the highest level of government. Now, as the country approaches another presidential election, The issue is once again returning to the center of political debate. Fani Kayode's response was unequivocal. Reacting in a statement posted on his official X account, the former minister rejected the suggestion that Nigeria belongs to one religious group. He described Jingir's reported statements as highly provocative and warned that such rhetoric could take Nigeria down what he described as a slippery and dangerous slope. Fani Kayode argued that Nigeria is neither a Muslim country nor a Christian country. Instead, he described Nigeria as a secular and multi-religious state, compromising Christians and Muslims, arguing that religious diversity is part of the country's strengths. That point is central to the debate. Nigeria's constitution provides for freedom of religion and prohibits discrimination on religious grounds. Political leaders and public figures therefore face growing scrutiny when statement appears to suggest that one religious community has greater ownership or entitlements to the country than another. But Fani Kayode did not stop at rejecting the cleric's statements. He also addressed the controversies surrounding the Muslim ticket and President Bola Tinubu's expected political strategy ahead of the 2027. According to Fani Kayode, the acceptance of the Muslim arrangement should not be interpreted as acceptance because the candidates are Muslims. Instead, he argued that the supporters are backing the arrangement because of what he described as the caliber, ability, sincerity of purpose, character, political utility, and the electoral strength of the presidential and vice presidential candidates. That argument, however, is likely to remain contested. For opponents of the Muslim ticket, the issue has never been simply about whether the candidates are individually qualified. Their concern is about how political inclusion and whether Nigeria's religious diversity should be visibly reflected in the country's highest political office. Supporters, on the other hand, argue that the competence, performance, and electoral choice should take priority over religious identity. And this is where the 2027 debate could become particularly complicated. President Tinubu and his supporters are already positioning the administration record as a major issue ahead of the next election. The opposition is expected to focus on economic hardship, insecurity, and the cost of living, while religious and regional consideration should also influence voter behavior. The latest controversy could therefore become another flashpoint in an already heated political environment. Jingir's reported statement and Fani Kayode's response represent sharply different perspectives on the place of religion in Nigeria's political future. One side appears to frame the Muslim ticket through the lens of political and religious confidence. The other warns that language suggesting Nigeria belongs to one religious group risks undermining the country's pluralistic identity. There is also another important dimension. Nigeria's political history demonstrates that inflammatory religious rhetoric can have consequences beyond social media arguments. In a country where communities have experienced religious and communal tensions, statements from influential clerics and politicians can shape public perception and deepen existing division. That is why the reaction to the controversy has been so strong. As Nigerians move towards 2027, the question will not only be about who wins the presidency, it will also be about what kind of political conversation the country wants to have. Will religion remain a defining factor in presidential election? Will Nigerians increasingly judge candidates primarily by performance and competence? And can political actors campaign without turning religious identity into a tool for division? For Fani Kayode, the answer is clear. Nigeria does not belong to Muslims or Christians alone. It belongs to all Nigerians. He also suggested that the future could even produce a Christian-Christian presidential ticket, arguing that political possibilities remain open. The controversy is therefore much bigger than one viral video. It touches the fundamental question of national identity, whether Nigerians see themselves primarily through religious, ethnic, or regional identities, or whether they can build a political system where those differences coexist without determining who has greater ownership of the nation. As the 2027 election approaches, Nigerians will have the final say at the ballot box. But before the vote arrives, political leaders, religious figures, and influential voices will face an important responsibility to debate Nigeria's future without turning religious differences into source of hostility. Because Nigeria is not simply a contest between Muslims and Christians, it is a country of hundreds of millions of people with different faiths, ethnicities, regions, and political beliefs. And the question confronting the nation is whether those differences will become a source of division or remain part of the country's democratic strength. I'm Chimezrim Okoro, and I will see you soon.